See, Republicans used to have a problem, and that was called lousy candidates. Essentially, this was the battleground map in the early 2000s, early 2010s. This is what an expanded battleground map looked like for Democrats and Republicans back then. The problem for Republicans was is that they had an electoral poison called white working class voters, which won Democrats the Rust Belt very easily in presidential elections. Now, before Republicans could go out there and say, okay, well, we're going to win Florida, we're going to win North Carolina, we got Virginia, we got Colorado, and we could win Iowa and maybe win Nevada, and we can possibly get Ohio and maybe Nebraska second. And they could win and, just kind of barely cruise by in presidential elections. Maybe you could afford a loss in Iowa, maybe you could afford a loss in Ohio, but you would be able to win no problem. However, a majestical man named President Obama came in and basically ruined everything for the Republicans. He took the Rust Belt very easily. He was able to make gains in Colorado, Virginia, which stunted Democrats or stunted Republicans in the Electoral College, because the second that happened, it's all over. Doesn't matter what happens in Iowa, doesn't matter in Ohio, doesn't matter in North Carolina, Florida, or Nevada even. Even to an extent, Virginia didn't even matter, because Iowa and Ohio were bigger victories for Obama than even Virginia or even Colorado to an extent. So even with that, Democrats were already at 270 electoral college votes. And so the problem now is that Republicans are like, oh my God, we need to win Florida, we need to win North Carolina, we need, oh, there's no more states for us to win because Democrats already have the Rust Belt. They stole Virginia and Colorado from us. We're doomed. And the theory is that in Ohio, a Republican can't win the presidency without Ohio. So if the Democrat wins it, it's automatically assumed the Democrat is going to win the presidency. So at that point, Republicans were really struggling because they were like, oh, well, we may lose, but we... So what ended up happening is they got a man named McCain, who was an old man that running against a super young black guy, and nobody wanted the old white man. So what ended up happening is McCain lost very badly. He essentially lost all of these states, including Indiana and even Nebraska's second congressional district. So McCain really suffered some losses, and then Romney came in 2012 and was like, hey, well, I'm going to fix everything. Let's start the Tea Party. And he didn't do jack shit. He basically flipped Indiana and North Carolina and called it a day, and Nebraska second. And that's it. He literally did nothing. Obama still won very easily. Republicans are still down in the Electoral College. And then Mr. Oro himself, President Donald J. Trump, which at the time was not the president. And everyone was like, well, this is interesting because this guy is not a government official, has never been in the military. He's surely going to lose all these states. But Donald Trump did something smart. He appealed to white working class voters. And what happened was states like Indiana were gone for Democrats. States like Iowa and Ohio were essentially gone. And even to an extent, Texas was still gone. But there were some trade-offs because the people in places called the suburbs didn't like President Trump. So Arizona and Georgia kind of opened up a little bit. And Colorado was a long shot for Republicans now, even to an extent Virginia. So in 2016, everyone was like, well, the Hispanic voters are going to go for Clinton. Maybe she could win North Carolina, win Pennsylvania. Oh, she won. And everyone was like, there's no way she's going to lose the blue wall. There's no way she's going to lose the blue wall because Democrats have won here for years, since 1992, blah, 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 blah. There's no possible way President Trump could take it from us. We're guaranteed all those states, and you lost. This is what happened in 2016. Donald Trump was able to flip the Rust Belt states by a combined 80,000 votes. He essentially still held on to Georgia and Arizona, albeit by closer margins, and in North Carolina, but actually did pretty well in Florida compared to expectations. He won it by around a percentage point. He was expected to lose it by 3 or 4. So he did pretty well, and he even won Nebraska second and actually made gains in a state called Maine, where the second congressional district, albeit Maine and Nebraska are the only states that divide their congressional districts for their electoral votes. Maine second flipped a Republican because there are a lot of white rural gun owners there. And so they were like, oh, well, we like Trump, so we're going to vote for him. And so then Biden came in, and then we had the coronavirus, and we had the BLM riots, and we had everything go wrong for Trump. And literally, Biden only flipped a few states. He was able to barely win the presidential election in 2020 because of Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia, which were a combined 40,000 votes as of right now. And so now there's a problem for Biden. Biden had a 52% approval rating, which was higher than when Obama came into 2012, and Trump had a 45% approval rating. Romney had above water approvals, and Biden was barely able to beat President Trump in an environment where the Democrat, albeit Joe Biden, won by a larger popular vote amount than Obama did Romney, and Obama beat Romney way easier. And so now Biden must have been freaking out because he's like, oh my God, I barely won. I need to do something. So Biden then decided and just ruined everything. And so now Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada are gone. So Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are supposedly up for grabs. Minnesota and Virginia are. And oh, by the way, New Mexico is now competitive. New York is actually only a couple points victory for Biden in all the polling data. So is Illinois, so is Colorado, so is Hawaii now, and so is New Jersey. So now Biden really shot himself in the foot. Oh yeah, and that Nebraska 2nd District is now in the toss-up category. So now Donald Trump is on the brink of winning the presidency. You could even argue he's probably already winning the Rust Belt as of right now because there are many disaffected voters from President Biden. And what's going on is that a lot of Hispanic and African Americans, they used to hate Donald Trump, are now going, oh, wait a minute. Well, I had more money in my pocket back then. And oh, he's actually a pretty cool guy. I kind of like him. He's maybe brutally honest to people, and maybe I don't agree with his immigration stuff, but hey, I mean, he did it, improve the economy. So now all those people are going to be like, well, maybe we should vote for Trump. And then for whatever reason, we have all these liberals hating on Biden because of the Israel Moss thing. So they're like, oh, well, we're going to vote for him in Minnesota now. And oh, maybe Virginia too. And oh, maybe even New Mexico because Hispanics are moving towards him. And Nebraska 2nd goes back. And New Hampshire flips because there's a lot of disaffected voters. This is a very anti-incumbent state. And maybe made at large even flips. So this is a possible map for the 2024 presidential election where Donald Trump gets 347 electoral college votes to Biden's 191. Now, the reasons behind this are very simple. Donald Trump leads the national aggregate by 2 percentage points as of right now. Biden led him by 5 to 10 percentage points on average the entire 2020 cycle. Trump led Clinton for 3 days after the Republican National Convention. And so now that Donald Trump has been leading the entire cycle in the RCP aggregate ever since literally September of last year, and we're now in June of this year, almost the beginning of July. Now it's like, well, that's a big problem because now now Biden is kind of not doing well. And just to give you a reference, Biden won the popular vote by 4.5 points, and he was leading by 8.5, 9 points in the average, and he got overestimated by 4.5, 5 points as a whole. So the chance of Donald Trump having an electoral college landslide are greater than ever because all these states that I've been giving to him are states that he's never led in the polls. He's led in Arizona, he's led in Georgia and North Carolina before, and even to an extent a Nevada poll here and there, but in the Rust Belt, never has he led, neither in Virginia. But now we have polls where Trump's up in Wisconsin, he's up in Michigan, he's up in Pennsylvania, he's even up in the polling averages in Virginia and Minnesota. And New Mexico, not necessarily, but because of trends of the state and a lot of Hispanics being there, this is the most populated Hispanic state in the entire nation. This is what we have now. We kind of have this map where Trump could possibly get 336 right out the gate, almost, maybe a little bit less than that. He starts out with maybe 312, and he can expand his electoral map going into the presidential debate, which is literally in a week, by the way. And the only reason why Biden offered the debate to Trump was because he was down 4 points in the national average, and he had no choice but to do something for his campaign. And so he was like, well, okay, I'm going to give you a debate, but you're going to have to debate with no live audience. You have to mute your mic. You're going to have basically the two people that hate you the most moderating the debate. You're going to have to sit down. Oh, and no third-party candidates, by the way. So yeah, it's the most ridiculous offer he could have gotten, and they expect him to say no, but that's not what happened. He actually said yes. And so Now, this is what the election stands at. Donald Trump more than likely comes in on election night with 312, and he can expand the electoral map based off of the battleground states that I've shown you here. The media will tell you that, oh, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania are so close, but not really. I don't expect these states to be close. For reference, I was able to get the 2020 election almost 100% spot on, only got 2 states wrong. My 2022 midterm, basically that election I was pretty off in, but the congressional race between Brandon Herrera and Tony Gonzalez, I was the most accurate forecaster. I said Gonzalez would win by 7. Everyone said he was going to win by 20 or more. The real race was literally decided within half a point. So even though I was off 7 points, I was still the closest forecaster the entire night. So I'd say that I do have a mixed bag of results. However, at the time of the 2022 midterms, I didn't understand that midterms weren't presidential elections and that the coalitions were way different. And so now we are here where I'm essentially equipped with my knowledge now and a lot of Excel spreadsheets that I look at. I also have a team of people that are helping me, other channels that are looking at the data with me as well. And we are seeing that Donald Trump will more than likely win in an electoral college landslide. This does not mean do not go out to vote. Make sure you go ahead and vote. Do not get complacent on either side. If you want your vote to count, make sure to go ahead and do that. And that's it for this video. This is the 2024 presidential election in a nutshell. My current forecast has the former president basically winning this. I will do another video tomorrow, basically going more in depth into the every single state. I just kind of wanted to do a nutshell video for the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. I will see you guys very, very soon.